Welcome to the AMATIC 2015 webinar series. My name is John Oakes and I'm the Professional Development Coordinator for AMATIC. And today's presentation is Developing Analytics Curriculum for the Community College, Training Today's Workforce for the Future with Tanya Scott and Dr. Manju Shah. And this presentation is sponsored by the Joint Committee of AMATIC and the American Statistical Association. And AMATIC is the American Mathematical Association of two-year colleges, and our core value is building expertise and exhibiting leadership in the teaching and learning of mathematics, enhancing personal growth, and improving teaching methods and effectiveness as a personally initiated lifelong responsibility. And for more information, please visit our website at amatic.org. And please note that the views expressed by the presenter are not necessarily the views of AMATIC, and any commercial products mentioned by presenters are not endorsed by AMATIC. And WebAssign is proud to support the AMATIC webinar series. And so now we are going to switch to the presenter slide. So I thought they were right behind this, but I guess I was incorrect, so I'm going to actually bring them back now. And while these are loading here, I'm going to introduce Tanya and Dr. Shah. So Tanya Scott is the Director of the Business Analytics AAS Program and Associate Dean of the Business and Public Services Technologies Division at Wake Tech Community College in Raleigh, North Carolina. She is a doctoral candidate in business administration at North Central University. She received an MS in education from California State University East Bay and a BA in psychology from Concordia University, Montreal. She has over 14 years experience in higher education, project management, curriculum and instructional design, emerging technologies, and grant-related activities. And Dr. Shah is lead instructor and associate head of the Department of Business Analytics at Wake Tech Community College, and she also has taught at Campbell University, Duke University, and University of Maryland at College Park. Dr. Shah worked as a data analyst and consultant economist for the World Bank, U.S. Agency for International Development, and other international organizations for over 20 years. Her research focus has been on private sector development, on which she has co-authored over 50 reports. Dr. Shah obtained her PhD in economics from the University of Maryland at College Park in 1995. So if we could all give our presenters a warm welcome in the chat room, that would be great, and I'm going to turn it over to both of you now.
Great, thanks, John, and I'll let Manju introduce, just say hi, because she hasn't, I don't think you've heard Manju yet.
Yes, hi everyone, it's a pleasure to join you all.
All right, so we'll get started. So thank you so much for joining us on this presentation today. We're going to be talking about developing an analytics curriculum specifically for the two-year college. Just a little bit about Wake Tech, if you don't know about us. We're located in Raleigh, North Carolina, like John said. We're the largest community college in North Carolina currently. We've been head-to-head with Charlotte for a little while, but we took the lead a couple of years ago. We serve about 70,000 students. That's combined with Con Ed and curriculum. Curriculum, we have about 30,000 students currently. Our county population is about 1 million, and we're growing every day. And with that growth, we've seen significant growth at the college as well. So we're very proud of the fact that we are truly a community college serving our local county. Our college just celebrated its 52nd year, so we've been here for a little while, and we're proud of that fact. Oop, I'm just going to close a window that popped up here. One moment. There we go. Just to give you an idea of our scope of service in the county, we have 8 campuses currently, with a new one being built in what's called the RTP area that's going to be opening in 2017. So we do continue to grow year after year. I think we've doubled in size in the last 5 years. So I think that really emphasizes the importance of the community college currently in today's educational arena. And certainly in offering an analytics curriculum, that just demonstrates the popularity and the validity of taking courses at the community college, quite honestly. If I go too fast, don't hesitate to tell me to slow down. I'll be very happy to do that. I'm used to talking to a group who can interact with me and ask questions directly on the spot. So this is a little bit different because I can't see or hear you, so don't hesitate to write questions in the chat window. I will monitor that as I speak, so if you have a question, feel free to jump in, and I'll respond as we go through, as will Dr. Shaw as well. So a little bit about the AAS in Business Analytics. So in North Carolina, we offer what's called a technical degree. So we have the AA and AS degree, and then on the technical side, we have the Associate and Applied Science degrees, and that's where Business Analytics falls. It's within the Business and Public Services Technologies Division. We received a DOL TAA grant in 2013. Actually, October of 2012, if you want to be specific. So we're in our last year now of the grant. We were awarded $2.9 million to assist us in implementing the degree. We're in the third year now officially of the degree program. And that was received in partnership with the Department of Labor and the Department of Education. We offered our first course in January of 2013. Our very first cohort consisted of 13 students, and we've currently had about 300 students go through the program to date. We've awarded about 90 credentials so far. We have had successful associate degree graduates last semester as well as this semester as well. In fact, I'm very proud to say that one of our associate degree graduates, who's going to be walking in next week, next Saturday, is going to be our graduation speaker. So I'm very proud of that fact. And the grant was basically awarded to allow us to develop employability skills in analytics fields at the technical level. So we were the first associate in business analytics, and currently I believe related specifically to business analytics, we still are the only associate degree in business analytics. There are some courses that I've seen come out of math, stats, and the IT sector, the IT departments related to data science, but we really focus on the analytics skills. So let me just show you the scope of the TAC grant. These are rounds 1 through 3. They went through round 4 and haven't really given out any grants beyond round 4, but you can see that they've basically made significant awards across the entire country. All right, so here's a quick poll question. Are you interested in offering an analytics program, yes or no? So we'll have our first poll. And I'm assuming if you're listening to this presentation, I'm expecting to see a landslide yes. And we'll see if I'm correct. Looks like so far I'm right. I should have bet money on this one. Let's see, we've got 10 respondents of our 16 participants. Let's see if we can get a couple more votes. We've got 12. The last 4 are going to hold out on me, huh? All right, well, I'm going to end the poll. It looks like we have 75% saying yes, they are interested in offering an analytics program, and that's great. So I'm glad that you're listening in. We can share some of our best practices with you. So our next poll question is what educational institution you represent. Are you coming to us from a community college, a 4-year college public, a 4-year college private, or another kind of training facility? All right. Great. And that's what I was expecting to see as well. So this presentation I think will be very helpful to you because it will be relevant. Great. All right. So in terms of the analytics program at the community college level, I think what's important to state here is that our program is not competitive entry. It is open enrollment, which I think is a fantastic thing, but also comes with its own challenges that we'll talk about through the program as well. One is that it's very accessible to students, so those students who may hesitate to apply into a competitive entry analytics program are more likely to come to us first to at least see if they have the aptitude for this kind of a skill set. So I really think it democratizes education considerably and actually expands the analytics talent pool, quite honestly. So it's very accessible. Students feel that there's fewer perceived obstacles, and in many cases that is true because we do have the open enrollment and we're fairly affordable. They feel it's much more feasible for them to be able to come to take a class with us. There's fewer startup costs for our students. So our very first class, our BAS 120 class, which is Intro to Analytics, only requires the developmental English and math. There's no other prerequisites on the course. And yes, that also poses challenges, but it also permits students to enter the programmatic courses right away. And it allows us to retain them as well because they're doing what they came to us to do. And they're not getting hung up on having to take a lot of gen eds in preparation for our classes. Cost to benefit is very, very nice for our students because students can take 4 classes with us for about $1,200 and then go out and attain a very good job in analytics or an analytics related position. It's a very good benefit to the students. Our program is also extremely flexible because we are serving a primarily adult population, mostly in their 40s, and I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Flexibility in scheduling as well as modality is very important. So we are primarily an evening and online program. We currently have no day classes because students are interested in taking courses only at night or only online. We're hoping to ramp up our day program this coming fall. We're going to try it again, but so far the demand has really come from the older adult population. We have virtually no high school students joining the program currently. And again, students are coming in and their peers are like-minded. They have similar experiences, they have families, they have kids, they have similar learning needs and similar scheduling needs. And so it's very nice for students to come in and not be worried about sitting with a lot of high schoolers. They're coming in and they're looking at folks that they would be working with every day. And Dr. Shah can jump in and give her opinion about some of this as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's invaluable to have students with experience in the classroom. And there is a fair bit of diversity in the students, so it's not necessarily true that all have the experience, but the ones who do bring in their experience from the businesses that they are in into the classroom, because analytics is all about applying these tools to business, and the interaction level is much greater and the learning between students is much greater because we have the high level, basically older students with a lot of experience in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Great. So with that, obviously you can imagine there were some initial challenges. So when we launched the program in January of 2013, there were no other associate degree programs or even similar to benchmark against. The program was and is still traditionally offered at the graduate level. and was and still is traditionally statistics or IT database tracked. And so it was very hard for us to determine, what skills needed to be taught at the associate degree level. And having taught this now for a couple of years, there really is no divergence from how it's being taught at the graduate level, to be perfectly honest. It's an extremely rigorous program. Our students come out with a really high level of skill because you really have to teach the material as it needs to be taught. And so I think that what's happening is, because we're offering this now at the undergraduate level, at the 2-year degree level, we're actually raising the bar a little bit, and the talent pool that's going to be put out into the analytics community will actually benefit, because graduate or even 4-year undergraduate programs are going to be able to grab from this newly trained analytics talent and just increase the potential for those graduate level programs. So actually, I think we're going to see some really exciting changes come down the road as analytics develops, as it still is. Also, Raleigh itself is an analytics hub. There's a lot of analytics need here. But still, what we found when I took on the program was that employability in this field, they still hired individuals who have a bachelor's degree at a minimum, and most typically a graduate degree, because we do have graduate programs in analytics locally in this area. And so that's been and still is my primary focus as the director of the program, working with industry, talking about the competencies and the skills of our students, bringing them into the classroom so that they can see what our students are doing, so that they can understand that that bachelor's degree is not necessarily indicative of the ability of the student who's applying, and they really need to become more competency focused and look at the actual skill that students are doing. We currently offer 9 analytics courses in our associate degree program, and I'll explain those in a little bit as well. And so that's a really focused, really rigorous training in analytics that would be on par with any 4-year degree, quite honestly, in offering an analytics curriculum. The program is open enrollment and requires little to no prerequisites. Like I said, developmental, math, and English. So students do have some uptake in our very first BAS 120 class so that they can get up to speed, so that they're capable of doing the analytics that's required in the degree. Our online hybrid is most popular, and traditionally this kind of a program is offered as a seated program, especially at the graduate level. And so that posed some challenges in developing the curriculum, making sure that students were capable of learning this material online effectively. We also offer an accelerated program, which means that we offer courses in 8-week sections versus a traditional 16-week semester. And then that really was to aimed at our adult students who wanted to accelerate through the program. They wanted to learn a new skill set so they could immediately apply it in their day-to-day work environment, or allow them to enter back into the workforce that much quicker. And if you know anything about the TAC grant process, you know that that's the main mandate of that grant as well, is to provide retraining so that we can put folks back into the workforce quicker. And so we were kind of mandated by the grant, as well as by our students, to find ways to accelerate that learning process, so that they can still learn the material effectively, but complete much quicker. So we now have a certificate of 4 classes that can be completed in 1 semester through this accelerated program. And we just launched the 1 semester program this fall, and it's been surprisingly successful. I'm going to say surprisingly. The students who've entered that accelerated program are very, very motivated, and they stay on task. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm so lucky to have Dr. Shaw, but I'm going to say it's really difficult to find faculty who can teach the material this way, the way we've taught it in our analytics curriculum, because we do have lots of folks who come to us, who interview for positions, who come from a particular segment of the industry, and they want to teach the material in a very particular way, either statistics focused or IT focused. And we really are unique in how we teach it, in that it's analytics focused. And you can talk a little bit about that.
Yes, and I think what's really important when trying to get faculty, first of all, I think it's much easier to find adjunct faculty who are directly working in industry to come in and teach a course for you. I think that is probably the most feasible option to get the right faculty. And in terms of the way we are teaching it, we're really trying to emphasize the ability to find value in data and making sure that students are learning that software is a tool in the process. And this is not about learning specific software, but really trying to teach them analytic thinking skills. We've been very lucky to have liaisons with most of the software vendors. So we are able to introduce students to Tableau, to SAS. We've also got Alteryx. So almost any company that we have approached has given us access to their software. And we are using these to show students how to go through the analytics process and make them realize that there's not a lot of tools that you need. As long as you're able to think through how to work with data, then almost any tool can be used for that purpose. And students have found relevance of what we are teaching directly at the workplace. We have students even after 8 weeks coming and telling us that what they've learned with us, they're being able to use at work. Many of our students have actually got promotions and been able to relocate themselves within their companies with the skills. So all the skills that they're learning with us can be directly applied to wherever they are at, because honestly, analytics can be used anywhere. And
And that kind of segues into my next topic, which is the lack of industry consensus regarding what is analytics. And some folks will say, well, it's big data, and other folks will have it's BI. And so there just is a general lack of consensus about what analytics is. And so we really had to be cognizant of what were the skills, what were the competencies that we could feasibly teach a student in a 2-year program. And like Dr. Shah has said, we've been very lucky to have fantastic vendor relationships and community partnerships where we can bring industry in and have our students use the real data and the real tools that they would be exposed to out in the workforce. And I think that really is the most important piece, is that the way we teach it is really application driven. And students are doing and touching data from day one, from our very first class. And that's been the very most important thing in developing a vision for the program, so that you can align your faculty with that vision, so that the students are learning the skill set consistently across the program. In terms of structuring the program, we abide by, we're part of the Completion by Design Consortium here in North Carolina. And so we made sure that when we designed the degree program that we implemented structured pathways, so that there was a clear program structure within the program. So there was some flexibility in terms of electives, but even with that flexibility, those electives ultimately lead to certificates that are embedded within the program. So there's a very prescribed program timeline that students should abide by. They wind up kind of forming, they self-form cohorts. So we do have cohorts of students that they have self-identified to. We don't force them into a cohort, but they just, the way the program is structured allows for cohorts to be developed. And students do stay on track, and we have an incredibly high completion rate. Almost all of our students who come into the program finish at least a certificate, if not several, with us. And so it does work extremely well. We've done our best to align our courses to maximize our transfer ability. Currently, we're working on an articulation agreement now with William Peace It's going to be our first articulation into an analytics 4-year degree. Up until now, there have been none locally or in the state for us to be able to articulate into in terms of a pure analytics degree. So we're very happy that that's going to be taking place and should be implemented by fall. We encourage our students to declare the degree and the credential early, if not the degree itself, at least a certificate. And we'll talk about what our certificates look like later. And again, like I said, we limited their elective choices, and all of the electives that they select are related directly back to analytics and have relevancy to the analytics curriculum that they're completing with us. All right. So some of the strategies that we've used in building this program, we are very focused on industry partnerships. We have several, and that has been absolutely key to the relevancy of this program. We have a very active advisory board now, and they really do provide some valuable input into our curriculum. We have speaker series and networking events throughout the year. We also encourage students to go out into the community and attend those meetings that are provided by specialty groups like SAS user groups or TDWI, or we have what's called a TAG, which is the Triangle Area Analytics Group. So there's many events, there's many groups in the analytics community that students can become engaged in and become used to networking. And networking is really an important piece of analytics, at least here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We do have a student-centric hosted event where our students showcase their work and present to industry once a year. That's been phenomenally successful. Our students are very capable of selling themselves much better than I can when I go out into industry and I say what our students can do. But then to have the students get up and be able to demonstrate that has been the absolute best way to market the program. And every time we host this, we've done 2 now, industry is just blown away. And so that's been the absolute best thing that we've done in the program. Internships are very important, as well as bringing in industry projects into the curriculum, and we have both. So our students go out into the industry and have internships, as well as they've gained employment as well. But we also solicit companies for projects, and we embed those into the curriculum as well. Again, we're completely application focused, so we're really focusing on the doing from day one. We also offer boot camps and other resources to our students besides the class. So students know when they come into the program, they're not just taking courses. It really is a truly engulfing experience. And again, we have the accelerated program and certificates, as well as the structured pathways, where we have stacked and lattice credentials. And we also prepare students for industry certifications, namely the SAS-based programmer certification. Did you want to add anything there?
That's
Good? Okay. And I'm just keeping an eye on the time. All right. So this is the breakdown of the student ages of our students. So you'll see that, it's primarily clustered between the 30 to 50 age range. And it's really normal curve, actually. So that's where most of our students to date have been. So you see here we have very few in the 18 to 25 sector. So obviously this is aimed at individuals who've been out in the workforce, who are now coming back, and they want to hone their skills or retrain for a different type of job, or they're looking to stay where they're currently at, but they want to be promoted or placed in a different position entirely. This is what I'm most proud of. In terms of our female to male population of students, we have a small majority of women who've been enrolled in the program, and I think this is actually atypical of a STEM related program, and it's also atypical of the industry as a whole, actually. And I think the reason why we actually have a small majority of females in the program is because we are a community college, which primarily is female-centric, quite honestly. And I think it's because of our accessibility and the flexibility that we're capable of providing. And we've had great success with our female population of students who've been enrolled with us. All right, so here's our next poll question. Have you had student demand for offering an analytics curriculum? So have you had student demand for offering an analytics curriculum? No. Okay.
So that makes sense because
yeah, and
it's a different group of students that is pulling in.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, and it's absolutely true. So for instance, when we go out and talk about analytics, people still don't know what it is. And so there's a lot of explanation, and if you go into the high schools at all, there's absolutely no understanding of what analytics is. So that makes complete sense. So when you're developing an analytics curriculum, that's going to be really important, is identifying and defining what analytics is to your program, and then how can you, in layman terms, advertise that out and gain, interest in people enrolling in your program.
Yeah, you'll pick up a totally different set of students who come into the analytics programs versus other community college programs. Right?
Definitely, yeah. So, I would say that's true. Yeah. All right, let's see. Our next poll question is, have you had industry demand for offering an analytics curriculum? And here I'm actually expecting to see possibly a couple of yeses. Yeah. Yeah. In some of the community colleges I've spoken to date who've been interested in creating this kind of a curriculum, it's usually because a company has approached them and asked if they could offer some classes in this field. So that's not surprising. And I think as companies recognize the need for analytics, they're going to start coming to the community college as a training opportunity for their current employees, but also in terms of looking for a talent pool, as is the way it's always been with any industry and the community college system. So I think the more people become aware of what analytics is, and the more they recognize that it's actually something feasible that they can do within their own companies, you'll probably have more demand from industry to you for creating some kind of an analytics curriculum, regardless of where it's housed, if it's in CT, computer technologies, or business, or whatnot. Being a community college, we really do focus on serving the underrepresented populations, particularly because it's a STEM-related program. So we do actively try to recruit women, veterans, and other underserved populations. Veterans actually do extremely well in our program, particularly if they've come from divisions where they were working in computer technologies or information sciences or security in some kind of way. They do extremely well in our program, and I'm really pleased about that. Anything you want to say about that? No. Okay. So the motivators for students in our program, career transition, as I've said, upward mobility, and as well as quality of life. They really want to enter into a position where they'll be happy now. So when they were younger, they might have gone into a career because they needed money and they needed to start a job. But now that they've been out working for a little while, they're much more focused on being happy with the type of job they have. And they're looking for something that is a little bit more diverse and might give them more opportunity to work on different kinds of projects. And analytics certainly fits that bill. And it's especially appealing to those individuals who may have shied away from the math-related fields early on, but have now, through their work or other requirements, have been, exposed to a little bit more math-related applications, and they're recognizing that they're capable of doing it if they're able to apply it. And especially the way we teach our program, it's really more of an applied perspective, and they appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the program because we're already 1:40 and I want to make sure I give you enough time. Yeah, so Jack has asked, he's eager to see the actual curriculum and jobs available to graduates. I'm just getting to the curriculum a little bit now, but let me segue a little bit on the jobs because I don't have a slide for that. The jobs are really diverse and it really depends on a few things. So close to 90% of my students entering the program, and this is extremely important, they're already degree holding. So they either have a 4-year degree and some actually have a graduate degree. I have several MBAs in the program. And so they're coming to us because they haven't really had any exposure to analytics per se. Sound is going out. Can you hear me? I'm also a little bit sick, so maybe that's not helping. All right. So hopefully you can hear me now. So close to 90% of my students are already degree holding. And so they're already either employed or they're employed and they're looking to move into another job, but they're going to stay employed no matter what. The students that have gotten jobs who've been unemployed were in a different sector. So we had a few programmers, or we had some database management folks as well.
IT outsourcing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of IT outsourcing here in the local area. And so they've come to us so that they could retrain and then go back out into the workforce. So that they've been very successful. And the types of jobs they're getting is diverse. And again, this is coming back to where we can say there's no consensus about what analytics is out there. And analytics truly lives in everything. And so we've had students who've gone into to work for some of the software vendors that we actually work with, or they work with
Trucking companies.
trucking companies. There's a gamut. And so there's no one job that I can point to that I can say, this is the title that students are going to get a job in. It really is about the competencies and what the company is looking for. And so analyst is a big one. You know, you'll see analyst, marketing analyst, finance analyst, and we have some certificates that are geared toward that as well. But there really is any number of jobs that students can get. And they may have an analytics skill set and not get an analytics job. They may have a job doing something else where they're applying those analytics skills as well. So just like I tell my students, I'm going to tell you there's no one job title that they're going to necessarily qualify for. It's really about the job description and what they're asking for. And what you'll find is usually the job description are going to look for we call unicorns, where they're looking for 10 years of experience and they're looking for all these high-level skills, and they really don't need that. That's not what they're really looking for. But because HR are the ones who are writing the job descriptions and they're the ones who are doing the recruiting, that's where I come in. That's where my job is, where I'm educating now HR about what it is they're actually looking for. And I've worked with several companies now where they're basically testing our students through internships so that they could have a better understanding of what it is they actually want and what are the job titles they should actually be writing. And so there's lots of challenges to this kind of curriculum and working with industry because industry knows they need this, but they don't necessarily know how it fits in their organization. And so we're doing a lot of that kind of educating. So going back to the curriculum then, our associate degree is 64 credits. So we keep it lean. It's 64 credits. And then we have 5 embedded certificates. We have the Business Intelligence and Business Analyst Certificate, which are basically the 9 business analytics courses in the associate degree program. Business Intelligence is the first 4 in the first year. And our business analyst is the last 5 in the second year. And those are also offered in an accelerated format. So now students can complete the business intelligence certificate in 1 semester, and I'll talk about those classes in a little bit. And then we have 3 discipline-related certificates for those students to align their electives to. So we have marketing analytics, finance analytics, and logistics analytics. And by the way, logistics analytics is huge right now. There's a huge demand. And there's been not a lot of curriculum designed around that. So we're working on that currently right now. And now we'll talk about the classes, and this is where Dr. Shah is really going to jump in because she's really, really aware of the classes because she's taught every single one of them now. And so I'm gonna hand it over to Dr. Shah, and she could talk about the 9 core classes in the program. So
the first course we start with would look very similar to an introduction to statistics course, except that this is not about statistics theory, it is about applications. So we teach students how to link to data, how to link to databases, and then once you have data, how do you clean data, how do you work with data, and then basically learn how to describe the information that you have from data. We used to use Excel for this. We moved on to stat tools. Now we're actually getting ready to use Alteryx, which is a commercial software for this particular course. We then move on to 121, which again, we're staying in the realm of descriptive analytics, and we teach students the key tools for data visualization. Given the industry demand for Tableau, we are currently using Tableau to teach students how to visualize the information they have and to create simple dashboards. That's really what we teach in 121.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So currently the way we actually structured this program, we are allowing students to take 120 and 150 together, because 150 does what 120 does in terms of teaching students basic statistics and basic descriptive statistics, but teaching them through SAS. So moving out from the realm of getting constrained by data size when you use Excel, once you introduce them to software programming, then almost any data set can be worked on. So given the demand for SAS, we are using SAS. Once they learn SAS, they can easily adapt their knowledge to learning R or Python or any other software. But they start learning statistical applications of analytics using SAS. They learn that in 150, which focuses a lot on SAS coding. And in 220, we introduce them to analytical programming. We take all the knowledge of SAS coding that they have learned and now teach them descriptive analytics using SAS. We also introduce them to basic concepts of predictive modeling in this particular course, where we teach them linear and logistic regressions, which are the key tools for predictive analytics. So the first 4 courses will earn students the business intelligence certificate, which essentially have provided them with all the tools they need for a good descriptive analysis of the data. Once they complete that, they can take the courses for the business analyst certificate, and these courses really introduce them to the modern world of data mining. And once you know statistical modeling, now how do you use the software to let the data story come out from the software? And those data mining tools, in this spring we'll be teaching them using Python. So we're introducing predictive analytics using Python, machine learning using Python in 221 and 230. By the end of 230, they would have a very good handle of all the tools that they need to analyze almost any data.
So Eric has just asked if SAS provides us with free licenses. Yes, in fact, SAS has a fantastic academic program. I encourage you to look up the SAS academic program. Just do a Google search for it. They'll provide the software. There's also SAS University, which is free to everybody in education, honestly. And there's also, they provide you free training modules and etc. So they have a fantastic academic program. Tableau does as well. Alteryx does as well. Mm-hmm. So vendors are very, very keen to help you develop this kind of curriculum. We've had, and this program has been surprisingly inexpensive to get off the ground. I'm going to be perfectly honest about that. We haven't had to pay for any software because companies are very, very happy to help you integrate this into your curriculum. I did want to say before we went on that after our business intelligence certificate, students, in addition to their own training and studying, they sit for the SAS-based programmer certification. And so the 2 courses in SAS basically are aligned with the expectations of that certification exam. And we have had students sit for it and pass that exam as well. Nancy's asking what Python is. Python's a programming language that's used in analytics.
And it's open source. The reason why we introduced them to Python is because Python is open source. And we are seeing progressively a lot of analytics consulting companies are using Python. They are increasingly adding packages for analytics, extremely popular almost all across the US. So this is certainly where we've incorporated this. It has really come from industry demand. They've been the ones who've been asking us to introduce Python in our curriculum.
Yeah. All right. And we have 2 more classes to talk about.
Yeah, and 250 is essentially teaching them all the other tools which are not covered in the other courses. So we introduce them to unsupervised learning, text data mining, web analytics, the complex analytics, which is now the buzzword, but definitely not the only part of analytics, but certainly something that when students go into the real world, they need to be aware of so that they can, in case they land a job that requires them to deal with unstructured data, they should be able to handle it. 270 is our capstone project. This is where students find their own data and write an entire project from beginning to end, going through the entire analytical process. And the analytical process includes data pre-processing, cleaning the data, descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and then drawing some inferences from the data and the results that they find. So it's a pretty complete program. By the time students reach 270, they have a very good skill set, which makes them really marketable in industry. And we've certainly been very successful in having students get employed after this program. It just so happens that majority of our students are already employed, so they're not, most of them are in fact not really looking for new jobs.
Not many.
They're just looking to advance in their current job.
Yeah, and the ones who have been looking for jobs have been hired.
Exactly.
And Eric says in Albuquerque you cannot get a job at the national laboratories without Python, and so that just underscores how popular it's becoming. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, okay. Yes, I just saw that. Yeah, Nancy was confirming that she heard Python, but there may be folks who don't know what Python is as well. So I think it was good to explain it.
Right.
BAS 270 is actually our practicum course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and students complete that at the very end. That's our capstone.
Yeah.
You could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, right now I have several students who are working on that, and some of them are working with industry data. So we have a couple of companies that have given us their data, and they want us to have our students work on it. So this is an excellent place for them to learn how to use messy real-world data and really try to bring value to the company. So the students have been directly interacting with the company, asking them the questions that they need addressed, and then actually answering them through the analytics tools that they have learned.
You know, I think the participants would like to hear maybe what are some of the projects the students are working on, so they can have an understanding of the skill set that students come out with.
There is a whole range of projects. There's a student who's working with a trucking company. We have a student who's working with data. Again, this is real world data on an association membership. And, he's looking at membership churn. I have another student who's working for a shoe company, and the shoe company is looking for the performance of their salespeople. We have another student who's working her workplace has call center data, and she is looking at that call center data. So it really, I mean, there are students who are actually using their own data from their home. They have collected data on their cars, they've collected data on their emails, and they just choose to analyze that. So it's the entire gamut. Of course, we have several who are from the government and
Yes.
who are actually looking at governmental data. So there's analytics in every field, and we have always encouraged students to use their own data. And so because we haven't tried to focus on class-specific clean projects, consistent common projects, we get an entire diverse set of projects from students.
Yeah, and then our students also participate in Kaggle competitions.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is actually incorporated right way up in 120, where we introduce them to what Kaggle is. It's a competition, it's a data science competition website, and we encourage students to go into that website. We have a couple of class projects designed to work with that data. So again, they learn how relevant their skills are and how they can evaluate themselves against their peers. So many different ways for them to learn data science, but it's a constantly evolving field. So as instructor, we have to always be on our toes and look at what's the latest and greatest, and make sure that our students are also learning that. So our curriculum is always evolving as the industry is.
Yeah, and we've actually just formed a partnership with Open Data Source, where we're going to actually start an open data initiative, and they actually host lots and lots of free information, lots of free data that different county, state, and governmental agencies put up there for free, as well as other educational institutes, and they're based just across the country, quite honestly. But that's just the tip of the iceberg regarding how much free data is out there. How involved are stat math faculty in the program? Not really. We actually only require 2 math classes in the associate degree. We have Math 143, which is quantitative literacy, and we have a Math 152, which is our intro to stats class at the college. So they're actually not that involved, and I would say that's also true in terms of business and IT. We actually it really is business focused. We created the courses. And so I would say that we are the ones that are primarily involved with the program, and we've selected courses from other areas that would just be harmonious with the degree to complement those skills. But I would say we're fairly unique. The business analytics degree program is very unique, and we wanted to create the courses so that it would represent that uniqueness. Instead of taking courses from different disparate departments and then putting it together. It really is a consistent program. It's sequential. Students take the first class and they have to go through the program sequentially. It is not. The Intro Stats course is not aligned with the program, so we do not have a section that's specific to our program. It's the common stats course that's taken by every student at the college. And of course, the content in there is complementary, but we do a lot of the teaching of the math in the class. And,
Yes.
and Manju can talk about that.
Yes. In 120, we don't touch upon, we actually make sure that students understand all the key statistical concepts that are needed for predictive analytics. And because a lot of these concepts which are taught in the stats department are formula-based, very manually learned, in our analytics program, we recognize that it's not the formula that you need to be able to calculate. The software will do it for you, but you really have to understand what that formula is doing. So it is much more on the application that we focus, and we've noticed certainly that all the students have done really well regardless of them being weak in math. They've actually felt very good about themselves when they come here, and they actually do very well in this program, even though they were weak in math.
Yeah, so just gave us our 1-minute warning. And So it looks like that we've concluded. So please feel free to contact us if you have additional questions. The email was up on my last screen there, and you could always find us at our WEGTech website under Business Analytics. Just do a search for Business Analytics. I appreciate your time. I hope you do contact me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya and Dr. Shaw. If all of you could thank the presenters again in the chat room, that would be great. I'm going to actually make these slides a little bit larger, and then I'll put their email addresses back up on the screen. I know that some of you have to go in a few minutes, so I want to make sure that we get our survey link ready for everyone. So thanks for participating in today's AMATIC webinar. If you'd like to support future AMATIC webinars, please consider becoming a member of AMATIC at bit.ly/join-AMATIC. And please remember to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/AMATIC. And recordings of past AMATIC webinars can be found at bit.ly/AMATIC-webinars, and it typically takes us 1 to 2 weeks to produce and upload webinars to this archive. And please take 2 minutes to evaluate the webinar content and the presenter at bit.ly/AMATIC41. So you can actually type that into your web browser or click right on the link on your screen right now. If you need email confirmation of your participation in this webinar, please fill in the optional section at the end of the evaluation. So if you do that, please just know that I send all the certificates manually, so it may take a few days for you to get that from me. So again, I'll leave that link on the screen, but I want to put up the presenters' email addresses again. So if you haven't thanked them in the chat room yet, please feel free to do so. And I'm going to stop the recording now.